Hello and welcome to tonight's flip math lesson. Tonight we are working on division as we prepare for an upcoming test. Your learning objective for tonight is I can find whole number quotients with up to 4-digit dividends and 1-digit divisors using expanded notation and area model. Let's look at a problem. The problem says, once there were 2,748 pieces of chocolate have cooled each day, the Lots of Chocolate Candy Company boxes them. How many boxes of 9 chocolates can be made from the chocolates each day? If they save the leftovers each day, how many days will it take them to make another box with the leftovers? So first, I'm going to use the area model. You will see that I have set up my equation with my dividend right here and my divisor, which is 9, on the outside of my area model. Remember, we have to think, can I make groups of 9 from 2? If I can't, I have to think of 27. So I have to think of how many groups of 9 can I make from 27. Well, if I'm using my multiplication facts, I know that I can make 3 groups of 9 with 27. So I write 300. The reason I write 300 is because I have to have placeholders for the 4 and the 8, and placeholder is always 0. So I'm going to write 300. My next step is to now multiply 300 times 9. 300 times 9 is 2,700. Then I have to subtract. Pause the video as you copy this down and go ahead and complete your subtraction. If you subtracted correctly, you should have gotten 48. Well, now that becomes my new dividend. I've got 48 that I have left over or remaining. So I'm going to take those 48 and make a new area in my box. You'll see that I've written 48. 48, now I've got to think of how many groups of 9 can I make from 48. Well, I have to think to myself, what times 9 gives me close to 48 without going over? Pause the video as you think about what you can multiply times 9 that gives you close to 48 without going over. If you said 5, you would be correct. I can make 5 groups of 9 and get as close to 48 as possible. Well, now I have to multiply 5 times 9 and write that product right underneath 48. You will see that I have written 45. Now you have to subtract 45 from 48. Pause the video as you write this down. When you subtract, you should get 3 as your response. So now I have to take 300 plus 5 and add them together to get my full quotient, 305, and I have a remainder or a leftover of 3. So now let's go back and look at our question. It says, how many boxes of 9 chocolates can be made from the chocolates each day? And if they save the leftovers, how many days will it take to make another box with the leftovers? So I know that I'm going to have 305 boxes. I'm going to have a remainder of 3, but that's not what they're asking me. They're asking me how many days it will take to make another box with the leftovers. There are 3 chocolates left over each day, so it will take 3 days to make another box with 9 with the leftovers. Let's try one more. Jason and his friends want to create a 4-square court in Jason's driveway. The 4-square court will be a total of 256 square feet. It will be divided into 4 areas of equal size. What would be the area of each small square? This example, I'm going to use the expanded notation. So I've got my division bar. And you'll see that I've written my divisor here of 256, and I've got my dividend on the outside of the division bar, which is 4. So again, I have to think to myself, can I make any groups of 4 with 2? Since I can't, I have to go to 25. How many groups of 4 can I make with 25? Pause the video as you write down this example equation and also figure out how many groups of 4 I can make from 25. If you said 60, you would be correct. Remember, my next step now is to multiply 60 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24, but with that 0, I have to use it as a placeholder, so I'm going to write 240. Then I have to subtract. When I subtract, I get 16. Now I have to think to myself, how many groups of 4 can I make with 16? If I know my multiplication facts, I know that the answer would be 4. So now I have to multiply 4 times 4 and write that product underneath 16. 4 times 4 is 16. Then I have to subtract again. 16 minus 16 is equal to 0. So now I have to take my partial quotients and add them together to get my final quotient, which is 64. So the area of each of the small squares will be 64. So dividing the total area of the 4-square court by 4 gives the area of each small square, which is 64. Now it's your turn to practice. You have 2 questions that you have to practice and record in your math journal for tonight. You may choose area model or expanded notation to solve these problems. But remember, you have to be able to show both methods on your assessment. So maybe practice one with area and one with expanded. Bring your papers tomorrow in your math journal for us to check at the beginning of class. Have a great evening.